Hello and welcome back once again to our How to Paint series. We're still working on our Apothecary here. And I think today the big focus is going to be that base. Of course, he's got the Space Marine he's standing on, but you can see there's also kind of a bunch of rubble. Looks like kind of concrete, some casings, a little bit of rebar. So I think we are going to kind of focus on that. And to start us off, I think we'll do just a little bit more of our Abaddon Black. We kind of started with this last time, but we kind of stopped because my Abaddon Black actually ran out. I'm kind of juggling between two almost empty paint pots, unfortunately, until I get a new paint order in. But we're going to go ahead and basically finish off what we started last time with this. I think we're going to go ahead and make this a fallen Dark Angel, both in the literal and metaphorical sense, given that he's been crushed by this man's boot. But their color scheme is actually kind of easy. I talked about it a little bit last time. I'm not sure which one is like the official color scheme. I just kind of Googled some images and I saw a lot of people either do like really dark green or it's just black. And then, of course, with like silver highlights. So I'm leaning much more towards just keeping it simple and doing the black, because otherwise I got to start mixing paints and we'll probably sit here all day trying to get the right color and shade. So we're not going to worry about that too much. I do kind of want to get all of these little indentations and recesses though, because there are a ton of them, unfortunately, on this poor guy's armor, and especially the neck is a very difficult spot. It doesn't really like to catch paint too well unless you really focus on it and kind of get in there with a little bit of a smaller brush. I also have all the rest of this rubble. So for obviously this is going to be part of my Dark Angels army. I kind of do a kind of sand base for the majority of them, and I think I kind of want to finish up this one with that. But all this rubble, normally from what I've seen, people do like either like gray or like kind of a more like granite or concrete kind of color. But I think we're gonna go for like a sort of sandstone almost, and hopefully we can get kind of a good color on that. Because that'll make it blend in with our sand texture when we eventually apply that. And I think just one more coat will kind of finish this guy up, and then we'll do the edge trim. And while we do that, because it's going to be our lead belcher, of course, anytime I do silver, I like lead belcher. We're also going to finish up a lot of the little bits on our main model as well. He has a little Auspex unit, he has like a little handheld scanner thing on his wrist, and all of that I feel like should be silver as well. And it's kind of hard to tell where his body actually begins and where the rubble starts, so that's a little bit of an awkward thing, but we'll kind of work around it here and just kind of guess as we get closer to the belt line. And I think the rest is all just rock, so that's fine. We are going to switch out to a slightly smaller brush as we switch to our lead belcher. Alright, so there's going to be a little bit of a jump cut there, unfortunately. I thought I had gotten the next paint we're going to use out, and I was kind of glancing around my desk looking for it, and I just could not find it anywhere. Turns out it was hidden behind one of my desk lamps, so that's a lot of fun. But this is going to be our next color. This is the lead belcher I previously mentioned, and this is going to be used for our kind of shoulder pad armor trim. Same thing with our apothecary here. We're just going to go as carefully as we can, and well, I can keep things in focus here. Unfortunately, my camera is not with the program today. But we're just going to trim this all the way along. Of course, we're going to mess up. That's fine. I'm kind of used to it at this point. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Ooh, my hands are like extra shaky today. That's fun. partially because I don't think I've really eaten anything yet. It's kind of weird. So it's like early in the morning for me, but it's also like nighttime because I do like the opposite schedule thing because I work night shift. So yeah, it's great. I always get to eat dinner food for breakfast and vice versa. And we're gonna go ahead and color in the main bit of his bolter here, kind of all the little greebling bits, and we'll follow it along underneath the barrel as well. I'm kind of debating, and we might get there today, we might do it in the next episode, the top of his little bolter there. I'm not really sure if I'm going to keep it with the white, or maybe I want to do like a gold instead. Um, we'll just kind of figure it out as we go along, but I definitely want this bottom half to be silver. We'll get the very bottom of that handle as well. Perfect. And of course, we want to make sure our paint is nice and thin, so I'm going to keep adding some more water as we get some more on our palette. And you can see he's got that little handheld unit, so we're going to go ahead and get that as well. Be a little bit careful of this because I'm not sure if I want to do the whole thing yet or just kind of this front screen, because it does wrap around the rest of his wrist and it kind of blends in with his armor a little bit. But I think I might want to keep a majority of it being that white, just so it blends a little bit better from the other sides. As you can kind of tell, it like bulks out. It's kind of like a Pip-Boy, but I think it's meant to be kind of attached rather than like a sitting on top of. So we'll kind of leave that as it is, and we'll even color the bottom of it here. Perfect. Going around, we're just kind of knocking things out as we see them now. While we have our silver, these need another coat, because of course they do. I feel like that's always the case. And then you can tell kind of that top arm. Well, maybe you can't tell. I can tell at least. I'm not sure how it looks quite on camera, but it is also in dire need of another coat. It is borderline gray instead of silver, so I want to take care of that while we're here. And then eventually I think we might do some technical paints with this kind of buzzsaw blade thing. We'll add some like blood effects onto it. That'd be kind of cool. And I think following this around, the only other thing we really need to get with our silver is kind of that little, I think it's an Auspex unit. I'm not 100%, but either way, it's going to be silver. And we want to be a little bit careful with this because it is close to our nice shiny white armor, and there's already more than enough of it that I need to fix, so I don't want to ruin it any further. And we'll be very careful with that top kind of cord, almost it looks like. Don't want to ruin our holster, although that needs another coat as well. I did do just a little bit of kind of cleanup in between episodes. Not too much to the point where our model is unrecognizable, but I did add another coat or two to his talberd, just trying to kind of even it out in terms of the shading. And then, of course, his pauldron as well is looking not perfect, but it is a little bit better than it was. And then I was going to do the armor, but honestly, I'd rather just continue on with this, and we'll do it kind of as we work. And I've actually kind of forgotten about it here. There's always one or two little bits that I just kind of miss. Excuse me. The Imperialis on our dead Marine there definitely needs some silver, and it's actually in a kind of great spot compared to how they normally are. Usually there's a weapon or something in the way. They're very kind of tricky to get, but with this guy he shouldn't be too difficult. And we'll do the other side as well. It is kind of awkward, and you'll have to pardon me as I try to find a good angle here. Trying to see again where that Imperialis begins and kind of where the rubble starts. But I think we are doing pretty alright in terms of that. Perfect. And we'll even do, you can see he has these little like impact craters. Obviously, that would kind of strip the paint as well as leave a massive hole, but we'll do it silver as well. And then we'll probably do a wash over it in the future, just to really kind of sell that like battle damaged effect. Perfect. And I think the only thing we really have left with this silver before we move on is just a little bit more on these little. Someone told me they were like progenoid gland containers. If I could keep them in frame, that'd be great. They were very nice. I don't remember what his name was, but he left like a big paragraph comment explaining what these were, and you know, the whole like apothecary thing in general, which was great. I really appreciated that. So thank you very much to whoever that was. Big shout out, even though I don't know your name. Fully apologize. One thing I do want to mention though is, and I don't know, again, I'm very much more of a Horus Heresy era guy. I don't really understand apothecaries in general, right? Other than like they collect gene seed, I know that much, and obviously the progenoid gland harvesting thing, whatever. Um, but if you read the Horus Heresy, they kind of make more sense because Marines, like when they get shot and obviously like arms torn off and their limbs like destroyed, they don't really die too easily. They do this thing where they go into like a coma, um, and even if they're like super badly damaged to the point of like they should be dead, they more or less just kind of go into like hibernation mode. I think they kind of retcon that in like current lore. It seems like every time a space marine like gets, gravely wounded, they just die. Either they die or they barely get saved and put into a dreadnought. So apothecaries don't really make too much sense to me, especially considering like suits have like combat stims and stuff, and space marines heal like unnaturally fast anyway. So having a kind of medic on your team when you're either dead or like you're gonna heal yourself, it's a little bit goofy, in my opinion. But since we're focusing on the base, I kind of digress. We'll continue on with that. We're going to do some Xandri dust, and this is going to be for all of that rubble. Again, I kind of want it to have more of a kind of sandstone look as opposed to like concrete or whatever. And once we kind of get that final layer of our like the basing material we're going to use, I think it'll make a lot more sense and it'll kind of look a lot better. But until that point, this might kind of stand out a little bit and look kind of goofy. So it's kind of it's one of those trust the process kind of things. And I'm actually going to load up our palette there because I know we're going to be using a good amount of this stuff as we kind of follow this around. And I'm not too worried about being messy with this. We're going to be redoing all that black anyway with our basing material, so not too big of a concern there. But yeah, no, apothecaries are weird, man. I don't know. They are cool though. Don't get me wrong. I love the look of them. I think they're one of the cooler models in the Space Marines kind of lineup. And obviously, I think it's cool that they do the whole like harvesting thing. But in terms of like a purely medical thing, at least depending on who's writing the book, right? Um, Space Marines just kind of never get like medical treatment. I don't know. I do not know. Not in the Horus Heresy though. They do it a lot in the Heresy. There's the entire Istvan massacre. I think it's the one where in the Istvan 3 where they're like purging the still like loyal Marines out of the word bearers and Emperor's children and all of that. And they have like a huge siege basically where it's like 3 months where the loyalists are kind of holding out in this ruins. And obviously you have like Saul Tarvitz and everything. And they talk a lot about like Marines getting wounded and they're going through like medical supplies and everything, which is great. It's good writing. It's it makes sense to have like apothecaries there. Although I don't quite think they were called apothecaries in the heresy. I think that's more of a 40k thing. Um, but you don't really see any examples of that in like current any of the current books, I don't think. And again, I'm not 100%. I haven't read all of them, but from what I have read, it seems like Marines just straight up die. So I don't know. And as we kind of weasel our way back underneath here, I'm going to apologize once again for the awkward angles. You have to bear with me here. It's as awkward for you to see on camera as it is for me to paint it, so if that's any consolation. And we'll do just a little bit here, and then we'll move on. There's a couple of tiny little details I want to do on his armor before we finish up today. Mainly like his little emblems and kind of his shoulder pad in specific. So we'll try to knock that out while we can. At least maybe get the first coat or two on it. And then we will wrap everything up next time, hopefully. I've got some washes ready. I don't want to drag this out any longer than I have to, but this is also a very detailed model, and I don't want to kind of rush through it. But I'm hoping we don't do more than, one more episode. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. All right, so I might even clean that base up in post, but that's a good kind of base layer. So next we're going to do a little bit of, I believe, Retributor armor. This is going to be for his little like knee pad emblem thing. And also, we'll see. I might do his little helmet with it, or I might just go back to our red. I think red is a little bit more thematical, but it just kind of depends on how I'm feeling when I get there. But we'll definitely take care of this little bit first. And I want to be kind of careful here while I do this. Hopefully keep things in focus. And, oh, shaky hands, please. Not now. Very, very carefully. Just work our way up. Problem is, because I do have a little bit of water mixed in with this, so it's kind of really thin. It almost has like a bubble effect, almost, when I first put it down. It has to dry a little bit, just because of that water being mixed in. So, I can't really tell whether it looks good or not when I first apply it. But we'll work with it. And we'll work our way down here. Of course, anything we kind of mess up, we have to redo the white armor on a good few bits anyway, so I'm not too concerned about it. I just want to kind of get a good amount of coverage where we can. We'll even do the underside here. It's very awkward following this around, but we're doing our best. And there we are. I was really struggling to get that underside of the skull. I just don't want to make a mess here. And I don't think it's quite perfect. I'll even go up here a little bit. But it's looking pretty good. So yeah, I'll take it. I do kind of, my timer is a little bit off. I did have like a solid minute or two that I have to cut out because I was looking for paint. So we'll keep going just a little bit longer. Of course, I feel like it's tradition now to update you guys on my Factorio playthrough. I'm still absolutely addicted with it. And I just got, it won't mean anything to you unless you play it, but I just unlocked the orange and the purple research packs, science packs. It's a headache. It is. It's just one thing after another, and I still have so much more to go progress-wise. But I've kind of taken a little bit of a break from it, of like growing my factory and expanding. Now I'm playing around with trains, and I unlocked robots, and I've never really used them before. I've had this game for I don't know how many years now, and I just never got around to it. So I'm definitely trying to learn those now. kind of fun, kind of annoying. And now that I've unlocked robots, I kind of want to like delete my entire factory and just rebuild it from the ground up because I could be so much more efficient. Um, so that's fun. I'm really enjoying that constant nagging in kind of the back of my head, but still powering through, and we're knocking it out. I also want to shout out. This is Mephiston Red. I didn't mention it. I don't think so. Big apologies. I do try to kind of be good about that sort of thing, but I am also a failure, so kind of to be expected. And this will probably take one more coat once it's all dry and done, but it's a pretty good start for now. And as a little bonus, I think we'll even do that little ribbon underneath. We'll start on that base coat for that. And I think last time we started with, I think, Wraithbone for like our skulls and purity seals and stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then next episode, we'll probably slap some flayed one flesh on top of it to kind of get that parchment kind of color that we want. And actually, my brush was not cleaned up well enough, as well as I thought. At least there's still a little bit of red mixed in. So, see if we can't fix that. Perfect, much better. And we're just going to do just a little bit here. Probably will need another layer anyway, but being extra careful to not make a mess of things. Let's go ahead and slide that right on over. It's kind of nerve-wracking because I'm trying not to mess up that red. I don't want to get it on the silver of the pauldron, and I also don't want to get it on the green, which I just did. Perfect. Absolutely phenomenal. And it's really difficult actually to get those little tips. But we're powering through. And this is kind of going to be the last thing we do in this episode. As always, I do want to shout out I have a Patreon. Link is in the description if you want to support that. It'd be really cool of you, but you don't have to, so don't worry about it too much. Otherwise, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Helps me out greatly. And I also want to shout out of nowhere, one of my episodes got like just massively a boost in viewers, like part 2 of all things. I got like 500 views. I just checked my subscriber count like middle of the night, and it jumped by like 7 or 8 subscribers, which normally it goes up by like 1 or 2 a day. So big shout out to YouTube's algorithm for that. Cool. I don't know why it just does that with random videos, but I'm not going to complain. As always, thank you guys very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next episode.